Hello, good people, and welcome to the Amateur Hour. My name's Justin.
My name's Tyler.
And welcome back to another wonderful, fantastical episode of the Amateur Hour podcast. Thank you guys for viewing. As always, it's been a pleasure for you guys to be listening, and especially since you all are enjoying our multiple platforms that you guys are able to listen to. I thank you guys so much for accepting that and being willing to choose the platform of your choice. I mean, I say accepting, but I know you guys love it anyway. You're able to choose a bunch of different things. Again, we're on 5 different platforms, so whatever platform you're listening on, if that's not the one you prefer, just click that link, and we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and select get all notifications so that way you guys are getting notified on our latest episode, because we're only recording 3 times a week. So I really hope you guys were to, just pay attention, give it a listen, right? And if you're over on Spotify and the other platforms, just hit that follow button. Again, we always want to hear from you guys back, so please leave a comment, and we can sort of discuss things of the topics that we're talking about, and other people can talk about what you're talking about. We want to hear these discussions down below. Again, because we just love building a community. And again, just a quick shout out before our sponsor ads and stuff to our sponsors, the Grim Reaper over on twitch.tv. So far, you guys, please check him out. He streams about, I believe, 3 times a week. And in terms of tasty treats, go over to Kelly's Kernels and check them out as well. We're going to have some special episode eventually, either later this year or beginning of the next new year, for you guys. So that is on its way. So, just stay tuned for some fun things. With that said, we should get into topics. So here's some interesting things. First off, we had a lot of news. A lot of news happened in the tech world. And for starters, I want to talk about, just Facebook. They've been under hot water, right? Facebook's just been getting hit with a lot of bad things heading towards their way, of a lot of showcase of
things.
Yeah, so to specify for you, Tyler, they've had a lot of things come out in terms of the studies that Facebook has done for people, and people are realizing, or for their company, and people are realizing that in their company, Facebook is purposefully pushing a lot of things to get you addicted to their platform, right? And there's a lot of studies that shows, for example, one of the studies that Facebook did that ended up coming out, not by their willfulness too. They didn't willfully say hey, here's the study on how Facebook damages the mind of a 16-year-old girl in terms of the perception of her body. They're just this leaked out and we have no way to to hide it. Some lady was a whistleblower for the Facebook, and she copied a ton of studies and stuff like that and just brought it to the public. Another one of the things that Facebook was doing was they were purposefully allowing certain propaganda sorts of how would you say groups, kind of extremist groups, kind of like QAnon and Proud Boys and stuff like that, to be on their platform, and they recommend it to other people on the platform when at a certain level of propaganda sort of stuff, they just need to chill. And they were just adding fuel to the fire purposely for a lot of the crazy presidential debates and other things that they were just purposely floating around to start up political, essentially, warfare between people on social media.
If it's anything to do with some type of drama, they're going to promote it because all they need is numbers to sell more information.
Yeah,
That's Facebook's number one goal. How many people can I get on my platform at any given time, and how much of that information can I collect and sell?
exactly. I mean, it's kind of like social media 101, right? Like you
I
just
mean, they really
want
don't care how
people.
damaging it is. It's just
Yeah,
they don't take any of it in consideration. It's just how fast can I do this? How much am I going to make? How many people committed suicide? Oh, we don't care.
exactly. And for me personally, right, like I kind of knew this stuff, right? Like you could assume this stuff, you can understand this stuff. I mean, they have access to your front-facing camera and your speakers as well when you're downloading the Messenger app. Like that's one of the things that they themselves utilize, especially even think of like an Alexa, for example. You're able to use this Alexa, and the Alexa's always sort of listening, and they're sending keywords to like this crazy database. So anyway, I don't want to drone on about that stuff, but the point is that they're under hot water. Facebook is, as a large company. So what did they do as a nice little PR stunt? Is they changed, instead of everything like, for example, Oculus and Instagram being, it says by Facebook. Now they changed their company name, and their company name now goes by Meta. So I don't know how that makes you guys feel in
Yeah,
terms of their
I'm
name
sorry,
change.
but for anyone that has a basic understanding of Facebook and what they do, and now all of a sudden their new thing is, well, we want to be the metaverse or whatever crap, whatever phrase they tried to use, this meta thing, this big platform that everyone goes to for everything. I am avoiding it at all cost because now you've just flat out told us, okay, fine. You don't have to go to this app and this app and this app for us to steal your information. We'll make it easy. Come to one app and we'll just take all of your information from one app. So they're just making it easier for themselves and for the crowd of people, those 14 through 16-year-olds in high school that don't pay attention to anything but what their friends are gossiping about Facebook. All they do, they don't know the change or why. They're just going to go on this new app that they can see all the gossip, and then there it is. You're in the same, what we'll call it, a black hole effect.
Yeah, you're just drawn into that. I think just because they did a name change doesn't necessarily still negate the fact that Facebook is like for, I mean, but they're all kind of slimy, right? But at the same time, I guess it offers kind of a bit of a rock and a hard place because, to be honest, like, right, you have Amazon, another company that we absolutely love, but has labor issues, right? Like I mean, their workers, obviously, we all know the stories in terms of like they're peeing like and pooping in cans because they're nonstop forced to work. I mean, Tyler, you yourself have kind of worked in sort of a similar sort of warehouse, but
Not to
yeah,
shit on anyone working in Illinois, but Illinois' labor laws and pay laws are more strict, because you're not allowed to work so long without a break. There has to be water stations. When I worked at Amazon, it was a numbers game. You had to have a certain performance level, but you couldn't complain about the pay. You couldn't complain about the working conditions, and you couldn't complain about how long you're working because it was all controlled by the state rather than Amazon. Now, I can't say the same for other countries, but the one I worked at, it Amazon is going to go by the labor laws in that area because that's what you legally have to do. So if the area you live in has shitty labor laws, don't work for Amazon. And that pretty much goes for any company.
and another thing that is very unfortunate with Amazon, right? Is like they don't allow unionization. Holy, they don't allow unionization. I don't know why I can't say that this morning, but yeah. So that's another important thing, right? Like because in terms of unions, that this has always been a thing, right? Like unions always had to fight for the right since the beginning of time. I mean, you learn a
Well,
lot, especially out in Chicago, right? Like I've learned a lot about the
you got
labor
to think
unions out
about
there.
it as if you're in Amazon's shoes. Amazon works a certain way because it maximizes their productivity. It maximizes how many products they can move through a warehouse. In other words, how much activity is on the website. If you introduce a union, the union's going to say, well, our workers only want to work this long. They only want to work these certain shifts. They only want to do these certain things, and they don't like how you handle this. Well, that's the most efficient thing for Amazon. So Amazon isn't going to make themselves less efficient to benefit you.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't do unions.
So it's a bit of a rock and a hard place when you think about it because you're like, okay, well, most companies are kind of shady, and the things that you do, and me learning a lot of business itself, like you really start to look and understand how unethical business people really are, right? Like in the steps that they take in terms of like just taking advantage of their workers and just looking to maximize productivity and you know maximize just money and wealth, right? Like because that's the overall goal for somebody that is an entrepreneur. And you just, unfortunately, as many ethics classes I take, you learn that business itself is just pretty unethical with a lot of the things that end up happening with these larger companies. Not to say that it's right to continue these unethical, sort of situations, but that it happens a lot
Well,
for
and that's
these most
another
successful.
problem in the business world too, is no matter where you work, you take an ethics class for that business. I took it at Amazon, I took it at the place I currently work, and I've taken it at the, I even had to take an ethics class when I worked at Casey's.
Yeah,
So everyone has their own thing. But the problem is the ethics is surrounded around the building. They don't necessarily care about the customer. Legally, they have to protect the customer's information. So part of your ethics program for every company is don't let your information leak. And honestly, part of that don't let the information leak is more so for the company not to lose business. Because if that info leaks and another competitor gets a hold of it, they can offer all those customers the same benefits or whatever they're paying for less money and then take over. So you really can't even say so much as the ethics program's protecting the customer as it's protecting their own database.
yeah,
Never do you hear anywhere in the ethics program for that company do they say, oh, this is for the customer to benefit, this is for the employee to benefit. No, it's all 100% for the company to benefit.
yeah. That's very true. So it's an unfortunate part when you think about it. So and and another thing is like, okay, now that this sort of stuff is people are aware of it, right? Does this necessarily now hurt Facebook in terms of like, are people going to stop using it? No, I generally don't think people are going to stop because why? Well, I myself, I'm not an avid Facebook user, but I'm on the platform because I am on Instagram.
Well,
You
where do
know,
you go when you want to find out the latest news?
yeah,
When one of your buddies says something, where's the first place you check? Where do you go when you're trying to find out about a new business or a new restaurant? You see if they got a Facebook page.
yeah,
So that's not going to change. And now let's put it in perspective what we said earlier. We got all the 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds, all the ones that just don't know better about the platform. They're not going to stop using it because that's what they do every 15 minutes because their brain says I need to check Facebook again.
yeah.
Facebook has pretty much burnt that into so many minds and it's
That's
probably a
why, like,
really
one of the
unhealthy thing
things
that's not going to change.
well, I think one of the things that people need to police themselves with, essentially, is like, okay, don't post it if you're gonna be ashamed of it, right? Like, only post things that you yourself aren't gonna not necessarily be ashamed of. I mean, like, I'm sure there's cringy things you're gonna post, but like, make sure that the information you're putting out there is information you don't mind the public having, because the public is going to have said information. Why? Well, because Facebook is, first off, a public thing. No matter if you make your profile private, there are people on those servers essentially that are looking at it from the Facebook company itself
The only
and are selling that
privacy,
data.
the only privacy you get is your friends list.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm Joe Schmo and I want to go look at this person's page, they can either say publicly show it or only from my friends list. But that's just for public use. If you put me in someone's shoes where I'm working for this company and I'm trying to get analytics, what you look at, advertising cues, Facebook makes money off of that. There's no possible way that you can't participate. It's in the I agree to terms when you make your account. There's no way around it. So if you don't agree to
Yeah.
terms, you can't use Facebook. That's just it.
It's just wild. So, is Facebook changing its name, its company, officially company name, to Meta help? Whether I want to believe that or not, I do believe in actuality that it did help. Unfortunately, it's because they're a company, and they make other products as opposed to social media, such as the Oculus, and probably I believe they're in some other tech as well, and other like gaming studios as well. They're just That's what Facebook is. They're constantly going to be moving. They're constantly going to be doing
It
different
allows
things.
them to separate their brand, like making a new branch per se. So now Meta is going to handle, more of the Facebook that we know, where we go on, we look at other people's profiles, blah blah blah, and then it's basically going to isolate it from the business end. So all the background selling information, all that kind of crap, it's done under something else now. Whereas it's pretty much dividing the company, but it's still one big huge company. So now you don't get all the negative as a whole. Only this part gets the negative, and this part gets the positive. So that's going to make it easier for them to deal with as a company, and just for the people that don't know better, that just, oh, I love Facebook. I don't know that they do anything bad. They're my favorite website. Well, they're just gonna say, "Oh, a name change? Cool. Okay, I'll download the new app." That's
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
and in that same vein, right? Like there's one last thing that will kind of finish off in terms of Facebook itself. And that is Facebook was trying to do this thing with Instagram, and they were going to create what is known as Instagram Kids. And people had already a negative connotation of what this face or Instagram Kids was going to be. They're like, this is not cool because this is made for like, 8 to like 16-year-olds that you're sort of trying to get in
Here's
their own app, and like what keeps them safe from sort of
here's
predatorial
where I have a
people.
problem with that. If you're 8 years old, you're too innocent. You don't know how to handle negativity. You haven't really learned how to discipline yourself. You're in a stage where it's like, oh, that looks cool. That was fun. Oh, mom said I can't do that. So it's not really. I don't believe it's a place for an 8-year-old to be is on social media. And now, if you tell me the age group is from 8 to 16, now this 8-year-old does something silly because he's 8. Now you got a bunch of middle schoolers that just want to make fun of him, tear him apart, rip him a new one. Because let's face it, some of the people in that age group are assholes. That does not sound like a good idea to me at all.
Yeah. So, it's absolutely insane. And that's what most people agreed with, right? They're like, well, what keeps predators off that website, to say that they're making this account and they're 8 years old? And what's keeping my child safe from that? There's like, they we already kind of knew that there was negative effects to social media. And now what makes it even more shady that they were trying to create this Instagram Kids is that Facebook was well aware of the effects that this app could have caused to younger individuals. So it's a good thing that that didn't happen. I'm at least glad that people were willing enough to not support that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess this sort of concludes like our topic on Facebook. Now we're gonna start with another F, Fortnite. For those of you who don't know what Fortnite is, it's only one of the biggest battle royale games for about 4 years now. Um, I will say that I myself, I used to hate Fortnite, but now I'm an avid player. I think I've talked about this on the podcast for a
I'm
while.
sorry.
I just love the IP. I love the different things that they do with their map. Uh,
Well, okay.
so it's some fantastic stuff, but as we know, because China has been in the news in terms of gaming quite a bit, and we've sort of discussed China quite a bit now. We even had a whole episode name dedicated to China banning video games, right? A little bit clickbaity, but but we ended up finding out that Fortnite closes its servers in China. And there's a big reasoning behind that. And a lot of it is Fortnite in China was way different than the Fortnite we personally knew. So any characters that were depicting skulls in Fortnite were all the skulls were just taken out. It was just like smooth surfaces that were just like if there was like a skull glider, for example, it would just be now a smooth ball. Like there's no so and they weren't allowed to sell any V-Bucks or anything like that because China does not allow any sort of monetization in terms of in-game currencies. And so literally so there was no V-Bucks or whatever, which is the in-game currency for this Fortnite game. So literally there's a battle pass that happens every so often, every couple of months they have a new season, and the people in China would actually get that Fortnite season for free. They didn't have to spend any money. They just unlocked it through playing the game for so long. So that's kind of a cool feature, but
Now, can't you
obviously,
do that in can't you do that over here too? If you play for so long, you eventually earn the in-game currency and you can eventually unlock it without actually purchasing it.
no. Perhaps for Halo. Halo has a fantastic battle pass system, at least for the Master Chief Collection. It is where you can do in-game. You could purchase the battle pass. They don't even allow you to purchase it with real money, and it's just all through the in-game currency and you being able to unlock in-game currency just by playing. So that's really cool. But not every battle pass does that out here. A lot of times you're going to spend $10, and with that $10 you're normally going to get enough in-game currency though once you finish a battle pass to be able to purchase the next season's battle pass if you so choose. So there is that. So you're kind of you're in the right ballpark there, Tyler. So face or Fortnite China had that. So that is kind of to Fortnite's detriment, where they're technically just not making any money from China in general, right? Like this is like it was a big, I guess, kind of financial burden where they were limited in the sort of money that they can make from the game. Another thing that was sort of worth mentioning is that right we know that China had implemented new laws that enables I believe it was children that were under the age of 18 to only play like 3 hours in a day for I forget how many days, and so that limited Fortnite's playtime. So regardless of the fact Fortnite having servers in China was just more hassle and more waste of money and resources than unfortunately than it should have been. And I mean, I personally, obviously, this doesn't affect me too much, so I'm not like too sad about it. I mean, I'm sad that people in China don't get to sort of experience video games like like we can. But I will say that I don't know. At least some sort of positive is that hey, we, they have a high education system, right? Like, and that's really good and stuff. But I don't know. It's unfortunate that they can't sort of play games like we play games and kind of sit back and relax in that sort of way.
I mean, I
But
can understand why they made the changes they did. I feel like it's a little extreme,
Definitely.
um, but I can understand why they did it. But as far as the Fortnite thing, I didn't know that you weren't allowed to monetize in China. So I can definitely see that being a huge issue because if you're running a server 24/7 to accommodate all the players at all times, but the players, other than purchasing the game, which is Fortnite free or do you have to purchase it?
so it's actually free. So that's
That makes it even worse.
yeah,
So if you download the game and now you're playing it, you're running the servers 24/7. Fortnite has to take revenue from somewhere else to be able to pay for your area. I mean, that's nothing but a loss. There's nothing profitable in that. So I can understand why they would shut down. I mean, that's like you take a good business model and you flip it upside down and then you just run it in the ground and stomp on it. That's basically what that sounds like.
exactly. So I am happy that that they sort of canceled. Uh,
So hey, maybe the expenses for running that will be translated to us and we'll get a better game. Maybe.
Possibly. I mean, I personally believe like Fortnite is they're kind of heading in a good direction in terms of battle royale. So I'm really happy with that. And I that sort of concludes our news for Fortnite. But before we sort of head to break, we do have time at least for one more subject. And I will love to discuss this just very quickly. Everyone was excited just because we've discussed it last season and it's very prominent in mine and Austin's life. Warzone, Call of Duty
Hmm.
Warzone. We were very excited for a new map that was promised to drop with the new game, but unfortunately, the map has been delayed until December 9th. Now, with that said, uh, it's going to be very, very to people's surprise and happiness is that for or Warzone will be receiving and let's get a drum roll, please. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so Warzone will be receiving a ranked mode. Is one of the things that has been leaked. Is going to be one of the new things that are is going to be coming to the game, as well as more destructible sort of environments. Probably because of the new Van Call of Duty Vanguard game, which does have
Hmm.
its destructible environments as well. So those are very small things, but definitely
Yeah,
big things to look forward
that's
to.
actually a big thing for me, or an environment that you can more interact with.
Yeah.
Um, One of my favorite games that involves similar stuff like that is Just Cause 3. If you
Yes.
remember, you can actually like blow up the bridges and stuff, and you can stop traffic. And there's actually a mission where you blow the bridge so their military can't get across it. I mean, it's another level of interaction. I don't know what this one's going to entail, but I mean, I'm assuming okay, can I drive a truck through a barrier instead of getting stopped like you hit something like unbelievable force? Or can you blow up a wall and then get inside the building or whatever, like you would be in real life, where you set a charge on the wall and you blow a hole in it. So
Yeah.
I can see a lot of cool stuff like that definitely happening.
I
And
definitely
when
think
games give you that level of interaction, it's way more immersive to me.
I definitely think in terms of the destructible environments for Call of Duty, it probably is going to be like said, walls and doors as well that will probably be very destructible. Because and the only reason I speculate that is because the new map is supposed to take place in like the Pacific, and it's supposed to have like this very kind of World War II esque sort of feeling to it, and so from the visuals that you see, there's a lot of like wood huts and like wood buildings. So I'm assuming those are going to be like you can't really hide in those. We're just gonna tear through it with a machine gun or something like that.
Or
So
when you get enough
Oh,
kills and you get like an airstrike or something, and then I'm hiding under this little tiny scaffold. Oh, I'm good. It didn't get me. Like, no, that stuff needs to fall apart when an airstrike hits it.
if it's anything like Vanguard, the destructibility, there's a decent amount of it, but not a lot. Oh, I wouldn't get too crazy hyped on it because, like in Vanguard right now, you can do a lot with the walls, but it's like you can't just like it's not like Siege, Rainbow Six Siege.
yeah,
I don't know, whatever.
yeah, no, you're
Uh,
right.
uh, it's not quite like that game. Like the amount of things you can destroy, there's not as quite to that level. I think um it's definitely not like Battlefield level destruction. There's a decent amount of it, but like you're not going to be able to level a building or anything like that. Bridges probably not going to be able to destroy them. It would probably just only be um breaking windows and like certain walls. It wouldn't be all walls. Um so which I mean I kind of like that better because if you were able to destroy whole buildings, oh my gosh, the amount of what that would happen.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, ugh, it would be
Just
bad.
yeah,
saying, I
that's
would
why.
spend more time nuking the bottom of the building to see it collapse rather than killing all the players. Everyone knows I'm terrible at shooting games, so if I can make this fucking building collapse on top of you, that's how I'm killing you.
Yeah, that's
It would be
more. That's
cool.
definitely Battlefield speed, Tyler. We definitely probably got to play Battlefield sometime, then, Tyler. You'd
Yep.
absolutely love that.
There's
But
one
yeah, no.
Battlefield map where you
In terms
let's go.
in in terms of Warzone, I definitely that's why I was probably speculating, Austin, and that it was just probably going to be like certain walls and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the buildings seem wooded, so it seems like they want you to be able to shoot through certain walls and stuff in that environment. So that's what kind of
Yeah,
does make me seem excited. Is like I mean I don't want to be honest, at least in a Call of Duty setting, for a building
well,
to be dropping on my
you,
head neither. But
you
to be
have
able
to
to
think
like
of
shoot
it.
through
No,
something
no, no.
that's wood
You
makes
have to
sense.
think of it as in like a hardware state too. If you're destroying a whole building, that's a bunch of physics and a bunch of code and everything that has to happen in a game. You guys are playing an FPS. You can't add too much physics; it'll slow the game down. It's too
Yeah,
much for computers to handle. So, what would make sense is if you're in a wooden hut and someone shoots down through the roof or shoots through the wall, that would make sense. If someone kicks in a door, that would make sense. Um, Maybe there's certain parts of the map where you can blow through a cinder block wall, where you go
hmm,
to this certain part of the building and here's this part where you can get through the wall. Or scaffolding, if you can destroy scaffolding and make scaffolding fall. Those are all small details that don't take a whole lot to make happen, but it gives you a sense of realism in the game.
yeah,
Now, if you've ever heard of a game called Medieval Engineers, there's structural integrity to everything you build. You can literally make the entire structure fall apart. But when that happens, you go from about 90 FPS to about 45 FPS because of all the realism around you that's happening. And you definitely can't take a sacrifice like that playing like an FPS game.
yeah.
Nobody's gonna like it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said that's the one thing I guess I love about Battlefield is that they're able to have those sort of destructible environments without you having to worry about, your frame rate. But with that said, we are at time. So I hope you guys enjoy a word from our sponsors. Stay tuned because we got a lot more in terms of tech news for you guys. Maybe not too much tech news, but we're gonna be viewing some things. So for you guys, stay tuned and enjoy this word from our sponsors.
Enjoy high-octane gaming with the Grim Reaper live on Twitch. Watch the Reaper as he plays through a plethora of game titles, such as Call of Duty Warzone, Call of Duty Zombies, Valorant, Minecraft, and more. Join him as he competes against high competition in COD Warzone tournaments for large cash prizes. You can catch the Grim Reaper streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 6 to 11 p.m. CDT. Just search twitch.tv/The Grim Reaper. Link in the bio. Looking for a fun new way to eat popcorn? Then I have the place for you. Kelly's Kernels has 68 flavors to choose from. Try out their delicious birthday cake flavor or their cheesy cheddary flavor. If you want to go classic, the Chicago style flavor is for you. Either way, you have a wide variety of flavors to choose from. But that's not all. They offer other treats such as shaved ice, cotton candy, and mini melts. Be sure to enjoy the dine-in experience and bring the whole family. So come on down to Kelly's Kernels, where it's always poppin'. Located at 13226 Lincoln Plaza Way, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Link in the bio.
And we're back from that word from our sponsors. I hope you guys enjoyed again. I know you've been listening to these sponsors quite a while if you've been here, but what can I say? We love them, and we love our sponsor ads. If you guys have a business of your own and you would like to discuss business as well, feel free to slide on our Instagram or Twitter DMs, and we'll discuss things further. I don't know why, but I felt like plugging that. So I hope you guys were to, take that into consideration, and we'll talk shop. But in other news, we wanted to discuss some interesting things. Something that me and Tyler kind of both love, and actually everybody's kind of utilizing now, smartwatches. But I'm going to let Tyler kind of discuss that a little bit more for us here.
Well, I guess the most important thing for smartwatches is who actually has the watches, who has the new ones at least. Apple has their Series 7, which is basically a Series 6 with an improved screen, and I think they improved the battery life and charging as well. Other than that, there's not really any truly notable changes on it. The new Samsung watch. Did Samsung had a new one, or?
As far as I'm aware, I think they had
right?
They had probably the Galaxy, right? Like I think they had a Galaxy watch as well. But the only ones that I really paid attention to were the Samsung Gear S series, like they had the Gear S3,
Yeah.
and then their latest recent one, and I haven't heard anything about a Gear S5, but was the Gear S4. I personally rock a Gear S3. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's a phenomenal watch in terms of utilization. You're going to use it in terms of like for time, notifications, maybe for calling. But I have to add that the Apple Watch's calling system is so clear quality on their watches. It's insane. My Gear sounds okay.
Say Apple's watch is definitely superior, but
Yeah.
the problem is you have to have an Apple suite of devices to make it superior. Like if you have an Android phone, you can technically use an Apple Watch, but you don't get any of the features.
Yeah, that is very true.
And same thing with Samsung. It's you have to. Apple's never going to do it because Apple is Apple, but Samsung has at least tried to make their devices more compatible with an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Or Android with an Apple
Another
Watch.
thing, worth mentioning, like you just said with the Android thing. So again, I have a Google Pixel 5 and I have a Samsung Gear S3, and the utilization between like the two phones, obviously it's going to work a little bit better with a Samsung phone, but it works almost and just as good on a Google Pixel, and it's absolutely fantastic because this Google Pixel, it literally changes the Android format on your watch, which I thought was something really cool on that Samsung.
And apparently, Google is actually there. There's leaks about a watch coming too.
I keep
Um,
hearing that, but like so far, like no announcements. So I don't know if that's like hearsay or whatnot.
I mean, there's a bunch of articles about it. I have not seen a release date, and the latest news on it is Q1 of 2022. Um, but if a Pixel Watch comes out, I feel like that'll be. I mean, obviously, especially for the Pixel users, but I feel like it's going to be possibly the best Android watch because Android is Google, Pixel is Google. So I feel like that's going to be your best experience for a smartwatch in the Android side of things. Um, and then we have what was that? What was that cheap one you sent me? It was another like
Oh,
Android based watch,
so
but it was really really basic.
yeah, the real cheap watch was the uh One Plus. It was by the
One Plus,
One
that's it.
Plus. Yes.
So that one also, if you've never had a smartwatch and you want to try one out to see if you like it, to see if it's even a thing for you, then the OnePlus watch might be where you would go. 150 bucks and 160 bucks, sorry. But it's like half the cost of all the other ones. It's a simple design. It's one of the bigger screen ones, but it just lets you dip in without spending a whole bunch of money, and you could get to see, am I going to benefit from a smartwatch? Am I going to use this, or is this just complete junk to me? Because I think a smartwatch is one of those niche products. Like, I don't wear things on my wrist, I don't use a watch, but I've always wanted to try a smartwatch. I might go for a cheaper one to try it out, but if you also use the OnePlus phones, this might be the best watch for you because there's the OnePlus phones are a pretty popular phone, and now they have a watch too. So when you have the matching handsets, that's really the best way to do it.
I know Motorola also offers a cheaper said smartwatch as well. I
Hmm.
remember seeing a few people utilizing the Motorola smartwatch, and it looked pretty cool, and it looked like it ran fairly smooth. But when I got my Samsung Gear S3, I think it ran a lot better than obviously said Motorola watches. Now, one thing too that I would say, like if you're getting into smartwatches and you're trying to decide between Apple and Samsung,
Go
uh,
by the device that you have.
yeah,
You
and
have
another
an
thing
iPhone.
that like is a pro in terms of like the Samsung watch that I personally love is that the watch band itself is interchangeable with normal watch bands. So
Hmm.
you can like I remember I went to Walmart and I got a genuine leather. I know it's not the best type of leather, but watch band, and I was able to change it out for my smartwatch, and it looks very nice. So if you wanted some high end watch band, like a leathery watch band, you can literally go online, buy it, because I believe it's a 22 like I forget. Like, I want to say millimeter, but I don't know if that's the correct measurement for the watch band. So if I were you guys, I think that was a cool plus. So
If
as
you
opposed
want
to
to dip
Apple,
into high end, if you're looking for a high end band and just the classy looking expensive watch, then you might actually want to go to Apple because they have a partner with I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Hermes, and Hermes is basically their high end accessories. So you can get the leather bands. I believe they have the. I don't know if they did it with this newest one, but I thought they had like the stainless steel. Um, like the iPhone Pro models. They have that stainless steel or titanium metal part, so it's more scratch resistant and just higher quality material. But it has all that in a watch. Now, it's another one of those things that you're going to pay for. Like, okay, here's a silver stainless steel Apple Watch. It's 13.59. Like, you're talking about over $1,000 for your watch, and I believe that's the cheapest one. Most expensive, 14.99. So if you're looking for that high end and you already use Apple products, that's probably your best route to go. Um, but let's see. For the Apple Watch, 399 will give you the watch. If you just want to get that basic foot in the door, or if you actually want to go cheaper than that, this is one reason I like the Apple one. They give you more options. They got the SE, they got the normal watch, and then they got the high end watches. Samsung, they do the same thing. There's their premium watch. I bought my girlfriend one of their. It's an Active 2 or something like that. It was a little bit cheaper than the premium one, but it was like waterproof and all that good stuff. And then they have just their flat out cheaper one, which I can't remember which one that's called, but same thing. They have like three different tiers. Samsung, they relied on more of a third party. They just made their product compatible with other stuff you could buy from other manufacturers, so you could get expensive bands and stuff for them. Whereas Apple, they kind of integrate it in a direct partnership. So there's that. But I don't know. I feel like I would probably. I'm gonna wait for the next watch because I want more sensors and stuff on mine. Like they finally did the edge to edge screen that I really like, and they finally gave you more options as far as I guess pimping your watch out, making it look good. But even just the normal Series 7, I still feel like it comes with pretty good different options, and that same thing goes for the Samsung. It comes with some pretty good stock options, but as far as a watch, like I said, I've never really had one. If you know about the Series 6, the Series 7 is basically a screen update and a little more battery update, but that's about the only difference. Um, and then Samsung, I guess we'll have to just go to their website because I don't know what the newest one is
Yeah, I
for
haven't. Like I said, I myself haven't really kept up neither.
Let's
But I
see.
at least I was able to see the Apple Watch like firsthand because my girlfriend currently has, I believe, the 6, and to see like okay, what is so fantastic about the phone, and I think as I mentioned before, the call quality is absolutely insane as compared to the Gear S, Gear S3. It just sounds so clear. It sounds like you're just listening to the speakerphone on your phone itself. Um, and I think something that uh, I guess some people fail to realize is that the screen for the normal Apple Watch is it's fairly okay. I mean, Austin was telling us earlier on break that his kind of scratches up fairly easily. And the one thing that I kind of wish that Apple would have done is made all of their screens like very tough with the same glass. But I know with the sport um, Apple Watch, it's a more of a like tough glass. I forget what particular glass that it says. I think it was like some crystals, something. It was like really strange, but it's a lot more tough, and I kind of wish that was a utilization that Apple would have done. Now, in terms of like what you were saying is a Pixel Watch, am I kind of excited for it? Yeah, just because it's another watch in the
Well, it's
space.
going to be another watch. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
I
it,
don't think it's
yeah,
just going to be an Android watch similar to the Samsung. But when Google made the Pixel, and now that they finally have their own chip and they integrated everything so well with the new Pixels. I feel like their watch is going to be a step above the others because even the Samsung watches, they still run on third party hardware. Samsung doesn't own Android, they don't own the operating system, they don't own the hardware that's inside of the products. Someone else made all that. Whereas the Pixel is going to be another 100% Google product. So I just feel like it's going to be kind of like the Apple experience where everything's just very well rounded, well put together because Apple does all of it. So that's the only thing I feel like the Pixel Watch is going to have an edge over the other Android watches is because it's 100% Google all the way through.
Now, with that said, in terms of smartwatches, I think it would be nice to pivot to talking about. I mean, we're talking about some heavy hitters, right? Like in the phone space itself, in terms of Samsung, Google, and Apple. But recently, there's kind of like been another development in terms of phones, and that is with the new Sony phone, which seems really cool, and that's another sort of topic that I'm gonna let Tyler sort of kind of give us the rundown on this new Sony phone.
So the new Sony phone is your same old, I mean, higher end Android phone. You can get the 12 gig of RAM, 512 gigs of storage. You can put the micro SD card in for expansion. What processor? It's got the Snapdragon 888 processor. So all of that is basically your normal flagship Samsung phone. What Sony does though, Sony is also in production. They do cameras and everything, and that's where this phone is different. The applications that it has for using the cameras, there's special applications where there's more tuning that you can do to what you're filming or taking pictures of. But what really stands out is they have a 1 inch sensor on their phone for the camera. And for everyone that, you know, hates everyone for getting rid of the headphone jack, they have one.
Yeah.
They still kept it on this phone. But what's cool about the Sony phone is if you're shooting video, if you're doing any type of production, it's got amazing cameras on it. A lot of different capability, a lot of different apps to change everything what you're doing, like color, aperture, shutter time. You can adjust all of that within these apps. And then on top of that, you can also directly pair one of these phones with a professional grade camera. And you can use the camera on your phone as a secondary lens. And you can also use your phone as a secondary display for your professional camera that you're using. So it just plugs straight into the phone. And then you get even more capability out of the camera. So now, keep in mind, the phone is $1,800. I've never seen a phone so expensive, other than the ridiculous let's gold plate my iPhone or make these luxury phones that are just in a really expensive case, but then it's just a regular phone inside. Well, this is your flagship phone in what looks like more of a, robust, more of a durable design case. But it's just having those cameras in it and having the capability to directly, like, actually be an extension of your filming or
Yeah,
your
because I
picture,
was saying
whatever.
that, right? Like, it records in 4K, 120 hertz, right? Is that how the correct saying?
I believe
I'm probably saying that incorrectly, but yeah, no, like it's recording in 4K. This thing, like you're saying, it pretty much replaces a camera. Like this thing
Well,
looks
you
gorgeous. I mean,
You would honestly have to go look at the website to see all the different things that this camera does because we could do an entire episode on just the camera system on this phone.
yeah,
It's
because
got
it
sensor
literally
shift stabilization.
reacts like a
It,
mini camera, right?
yeah, I mean, there's not a phone out there that has a 1 inch sensor, not that I know of at least. And on top of that, it's a 1 inch stabilized sensor. Um, let's see. It has a 16 millimeter camera that's 12 megapixel, a 24 millimeter camera, 12 megapixel, and it has an adjustable aperture, 2.0 to 4.0, a 3D time of flight sensor, and then a 50 millimeter 2.4 aperture, 12 megapixel camera. Those are all, you know, high spec cameras that are in that thing. And then
Absolutely.
when you put it with Sony's software, I can't tell you a whole lot about, camera software, but between Apple and Sony, they probably make your film world. Apple with the mobile and Sony, they do, full blown production cameras like movie recording cameras.
Yeah,
So,
I personally am very excited to see this Sony phone kind of enter the market with this more specificity on cameras, right? Like in this camera sort of sense, as like we were saying, is like it's got this ability where kind of like Apple is over here, right, showcasing their new iPhone 13. They're like, oh, you can get raw files and edit this and edit that in terms of like the filming with their cameras, but like low key, Sony has been here developing a really pretty high quality phone that has Android One in
Sony
terms of the
has been
software.
filming in RAW for a
Yeah,
long and they've been doing it on their phones for quite a while too. This
yeah,
latest phone made a huge improvement on it, but it wasn't until the iPhone 13 where you were able to film in RAW.
yeah.
Sony's been doing it for a long time, and
Exactly,
Sony's been
and they
basically
allow what like you can adjust the shutter and the aperture and all this different things again, like it's a Canon or like it's a Sony camera itself, and I think that's an absolutely fantastic thing to see in the field of smartphones for somebody especially who's more towards the filming and generally wants to utilize their phone for this filming sort of production to be able to adjust the ISO and other things like that, like it's a literal camera, is one of the coolest features in a smartphone. And I'm happy to see, again, Sony enter this market space and literally bring something different that is worth the price, if you ask me. Because as I'm aware too, it's cheaper than the last Sony phone that dropped, which was like 2,400. They pretty much cut that price in half.
it's another one of those products where you have to be able to utilize it. I mean, it would be extremely stupid for me to go spend $1,800 on a phone because I wouldn't use it. Now, for the people that do, let's say, a lot of vlogging, a lot of mobile quick shot kind of film, and or maybe you have your own studio where you do professional pictures, or like what your girlfriend does, where she does her own wedding films and all that kind of stuff. A camera like this or a phone like this would be suitable for that person and probably a very useful tool. I'm looking at a vlogging setup right now that's on Sony's product page. It's got I'm drawing a blank here, the stick that you mount the phone to and you hold up. Um, but on that, it has a microphone, a professional microphone on top. It has a secondary display that faces the back of the phone that's plugged in with the USB-C. And then on the stick itself, it has a photo button, a movie button, and a couple of other controls to control the camera on the phone. So you can actually hold it up. Someone looking at the lens could see what's happening on the phone because of the little secondary screen. You're going to get really good audio because of the mic that's on it. I mean, it's a full-blown handheld setup, and it's going to be super light because it's a phone. I mean, usually you'd have a handheld setup like this, but you have like one of those red cameras on it, and it's just a big kind of bulky thing to hold in your hand.
Yeah.
So this is
It's
way, way
it's a
better.
game changer for sure. But with that said, we are at time, and I want to thank everybody for listening. As always, it's absolutely fantastic to have you guys, you amateurs out there, listening to us. And with that said, again, please go and check our sponsors out, and anybody else that is affiliated with said podcast is going to be in the link in the description down below in terms of Adam Stone, BMMB. Again, big shout out to our sponsors, Kelly's Kernels. If you're out in the Indiana area, Northwest Indiana area, if I were you, go check out Kelly's Kernels. They have all the most wonderful, delicious treats, especially their popcorns, of course. And again, get some wonderful gaming watch time for you guys over at the Grim Reaper, who is always playing the games kind of like we discussed, right? Like Warzone is one of those big games that he plays quite a bit and enters tournaments for. So if you guys, please check him out. And please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow us on all platforms. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Leave a comment down below. Are you excited for the Sony phone? Would you utilize a phone with all these features? Smartwatches, what is your preference? Are you a person that is going to even be interested in smartwatches in general? Do you believe the tech needs to be increased for these smartwatches? And finally, what are your thoughts on Fortnite closing its servers and Facebook changing its name? Leave those comments down below. We'd love to hear from you guys. As always, we love you.